bedeckt, mit Näglein besteckt, schlupf unter die Deck, morgen früh, wenn Gott will, wirst du wieder geweckt. Morgen früh, wenn Gott will, wirst du wieder geweckt.
Today we're going to look at YouTube channels for learning German, and at the end we'll look at how to fit these resources into a method and routine that will help you on your way to learning the language. If you want to skip ahead, you can follow the timestamps on screen now or in the description below. The YouTube channels we're going to be looking at are specifically about learning German. They're therefore great for actively learning the language and noting down new phrases, checking grammar points, that sort of thing. But you can obviously use them for immersion as well, as they are spoken in the language. We'll look at German YouTube channels purely for immersion in future videos. These will be divided into various topics so that you can find channels for areas that interest you, and the links will be in the description below. The channels we're going to look at today aren't listed in any particular order. They're all really good resources created by fantastic teachers and creators. As ever, this isn't an exhaustive list. There'll be other great channels out there, or there certainly will be as time passes after making this video. I'll be sure to add any new channels I come across to the description below. You'll also be able to find them in the corresponding article on the How to Learn Languages website, the link to which will also be in the description below. If there's any channels you know of that haven't been covered in this video, please feel free to mention them in the comments, so that other people can find them too. The first channel we're going to look at is Easy German. The team do an incredible job of providing videos and podcasts on a wide range of topics in a format that helps you to both immerse and actively learn, depending on how you're feeling at the time. The videos usually take the form of street interviews with people of different ages and opinions. Though interviews aren't always as informal as conversations between family and friends, the relaxed nature of the videos means you can immerse in the way people speak German in their daily lives. In every episode you hear the opinions of a diverse group of people, further helping you to gain a sense of how the language is spoken beyond the rigidity of textbooks. The videos are therefore a great way to improve your German whilst learning about the German-speaking lands and the people who live there. There's also subtitles in both English and German, providing a helpful reference for both the meaning of phrases and their pronunciation, as you can read the German subtitles whilst listening to how they're spoken in the video. The second channel we're going to look at is Learn German with Anja. There's loads of great videos covering a wide range of topics. There's videos on grammar for when you want to clarify a certain rule, such as this playlist, German Grammar Explained Easily. But there's also loads of useful videos for practicing your German listening and for learning about Germany. For example, there's vlogs like these about German Christmas food and how to order Glühwein. Another great channel is Lingoni German. There's all sorts of videos about the German language, covering grammar, expressions, idioms and much more. There's also videos for listening comprehension, as well as vlogs and live streams. The next channel we're going to look at is Learn German. There's videos on a wide range of topics, covering both the German language and German-speaking countries in general. For example, there's playlists covering German cases, but also playlists about getting to know Germany, as well as places to visit in Germany and Austria. The next 4 channels are of a fairly similar scale and are all really good. These are Deutsch mit Maria, Linkster Academy, Deutsch für euch, and Deutsch mit Benjamin. Across their channels, there's all sorts of videos relating to German language and culture. Whatever area you're looking for, be it grammar, expressions, or vlogs, you'll be able to find it on these channels. The next 2 channels are relatively new in comparison to most of the other ones mentioned so far. They therefore don't have as many videos as some of the other channels, but what they have posted is very useful for anyone learning German, and it seems like there'll be plenty more to come. So definitely consider subscribing to their channels and supporting their work. These 2 channels are German with Tetiana and Lerne Deutsch. They both cover a wide range of topics, including grammar, expressions, vlogs, and even general advice on learning German. Another great channel is smarterGerman. Though there's videos on various topics, one of the standout features of the channel is how its creator, Michael, explains German grammar in novel and interesting ways. For example, the following video on German sentence structure is helpful, and there's plenty more videos like that on the channel. The next channel is Dein Sprachcoach, and as the name suggests, the focus is on spoken German, and particularly pronunciation. The channel is run by Maria, who came to Germany from Russia when she was 22. She therefore knows how non-native German speakers can develop their pronunciation. It's therefore a great place to work on your pronunciation, but there's also loads of useful videos covering other topics relating to learning German, such as grammar, expressions, and general advice. If you're looking for engaging stories to practice your German listening and reading, then My German Short Stories and Andrea Thionville are both great channels. The last channel we'll focus on is Deutsch lernen mit der Deutsche Welle. Although we've got various useful videos, what stands out is a playlist called Nico's Weg, a film where the level of German increases as it goes on. It's a great way to build your confidence listening to German, and it's also a great way to increase your vocabulary through context. Although we won't be looking at them in the same detail, the following channels are all great channels that are well worth trying. These are Learn German with Herr Antrim, Get Germanized, Don't Trust the Rabbit, Natural Fluent German, Your German Teacher, and Deutsch lernen mit Max. As a side note, it's worth mentioning that the videos of all of these channels usually aren't spoken at full speed, which is absolutely fine. It helps, particularly when you're a beginner and you go into these channels to learn specific things, such as to learn some new phrases or check on a certain grammar point. But because it isn't spoken at full speed, do just be sure to immerse in other materials such as films, podcasts, and even other YouTube channels where the language is spoken at a normal speed. This way, you won't get a shock if, later on, you suddenly start listening to the language as it's spoken normally, as your ears will already be adjusted to it. But even with that being said, these are still perfect channels for learning new things and getting some sort of immersion in at the same time. They're worth using at any stage during the process, and of course, they're going to be particularly helpful for beginners. But given how varied the topics are on these channels, you'll find there's new videos all the time on interesting topics relating to the German language. Although it's ideal to immerse in the language without English subtitles, the option of English subtitles is not being discouraged for these channels, because their videos aren't solely for immersion. They're an excellent compromise if, during the early stages, you're wanting to immerse in materials where you can understand a lot of what's going on, but they are also just a great way to actively study the language and pick up new phrases. And just as a final reminder, do be sure to still spend some time immersing with videos at normal speed and without subtitles, as this is the most accurate reflection of the language you will encounter in daily life when speaking with German speakers, and it's just very important for the learning process in general. The more we listen to a language, the more our brain becomes familiar with the sound patterns of that language. Researchers have learned that this trait is with us within a few days of being born. They found that babies who were 2 days old could tell they were listening to 2 separate languages, based on their brain's reactions to the sound patterns they were hearing. And so in other words, our brains are incredible at recognising sound patterns, and that's why it's vital to keep immersing in the language, even when it feels frustrating and you don't necessarily feel like you're making improvements. In the background, your brain is getting better and better at recognising the sound patterns of the language. And that's why we have these, what feel like sudden breakthrough moments every now and again, when in reality, it's more of a cumulative process, where all the immersion we were doing has built up and we're getting very comfortable at recognising certain patterns of sound in the language. All the channels mentioned in this video are great channels that are well worth your time. And remember that you don't need to stick to just one. You could easily use all of them, you can mix and match, and in terms of improving your listening comprehension, it serves your German well to have various different sources, because obviously no one speaks exactly the same. So having that variety can only help. Any channels that haven't been mentioned haven't been left out intentionally. I'll do my best to add links to any others to the description of this video, as and when I come across them, as there'll no doubt be others out there, be it now or certainly at some point in the future. And if there's any channels you know that haven't been covered in this video, please feel free to mention them in the comments, so that other people can find them too. In terms of fitting the resources we've covered today into a plan for learning German, there are 3 essential things you need to learn any language. These 3 things could be called different names based on personal preference, but they boil down to the same things. These are the passive part of the process, the active part, and practice. The passive part of the process is perhaps most important, in the sense that it's most likely to have been the missing ingredient, as when we learn languages at school, it's impossible to spend much time listening to the language in its normal form, at normal speed, and how it's used in daily life. And this is why, even though we perhaps learn how to conjugate some verbs and say a few sentences, when we actually hear the language properly, in normal settings, we struggle to understand it. The active part is probably going to be the most familiar, in the sense that it does involve active study, but it doesn't have to be in the more traditional ways you may be used to from school. By all means, study grammar in isolation, and verb tables if you enjoy that, as enjoyment is the most important thing, but you don't have to. The active part of the process for many people can just be a case of looking for new phrases and learning them, remembering them. Practice is just about having conversations, whether they're typed or spoken, with native speakers of that language, or people who speak that language to the level of a first language, ideally anyway. If at the start, you're a bit tentative and want to develop your German a bit more before having conversations, that's absolutely fine. You can just pose questions to yourself and think of how you'd respond and practice answering them. It may sound a bit odd at first, but it's absolutely fine, and it is an effective way to improve. The most effective way for improving your fluency is to practice with other people, as it's the most immediate form and it'll make your responses feel more automatic in future. But for many people, it can seem a bit daunting to start that straight away. Some people do advocate starting that straight away, but you don't have to. It's just personal preference. Now, with regard to the resources we looked at today, they're great for the active part of the process. You can learn loads of new phrases, and for even a fun alternative if you want to check a grammar point, to looking it up in a textbook, and of course, a much more cost-effective method for doing that. And of course, they are also helpful for immersion, but they shouldn't be your sole form of immersion, as they are often spoken a bit more slowly than the language normally would be. Over the coming weeks and months, there'll be more videos like this posted on this channel to help you learn German, as well as various other languages. If you'd like to look at some other free resources on the website, there's a resources section, and that gets added to weekly. There's general advice on language learning, and there's a tab specifically for German resources, focusing particularly on films you can watch to help improve your German, and each of these has links to relevant videos and articles that will add context to the film you've watched. And adding this context helps you to remember the phrases you've come across, and it can just make the whole process more interesting and enjoyable. If you'd like more detail on how to learn German, there's a How to Learn Languages guide, How to Learn German. The guide goes into lots more detail, and it's a way for you to have everything you need in one place, with links to useful free resources and a plan laid out for you. There's also a detailed section on the history of the German language. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful, and see you next time.